Okay, so next up, we will do deep dive with our creative director, Ava, on creative, current state, and what we hope to see in the new year. Welcome, Ava.
Thanks for having me back, Xander. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to start off, why don't you give us a little overview of how you see how 2024 went and, any sort of key high-level takeaways?
Yeah, for creative, I think we had a number of really interesting trends happening in 2024. We're definitely seeing the rise of UGC even more. I think that's been climbing, of course, the last few years, and it's definitely not going anywhere. Our percentage of UGC keeps climbing in the ads that we make, and we're seeing even more authentic content coming forward from developers and members of the teams that we work with. We've been tapping them to be talents in their own videos, which has been really great to see. A lot of willing collaboration from the teams that we work with to have game designers and members of the marketing team and just create awesome interviews that we're able to use in ads. And this has been really great to have this developer behind the scenes interview angle, working really well in ads. We've seen great performance across our portfolio with almost every app that we've tried this for. So I think people are really resonating with more authentic content, and it's been a real win for our creative team and for our clients this year.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've noticed just on my personal consumption of my probably too many Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts that it's all influencer content. Like that is like 90%, maybe 80%. I don't know. Some massive proportion of the overall content is sort of just like influencer people talking over a video. And it makes sense that if you try to make native content for those platforms, you would replicate it. So it makes a ton of sense. It also flies in the face of the sort of overall narrative, which is it's all about technology. It's all about AI. We're getting rid of humans altogether. I think maybe that's a nice bridge to the next question, which is how has technological evolution of this year impacted your creative workflow? And is it, how much AI is obviously the thing that is the topic that no one can shut up about. So I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, great question. I mean, it's interesting because on the podcast last year, I made the bold prediction we would be seeing entire creatives made from AI, and we certainly are in pieces. And you can make a whole creative with AI now. It's just not a good creative, it's not a performing creative. So it's definitely helped our team with creative ideation, with copywriting, image generation, some video generation. It's getting better with video for sure. Captions, voiceovers. So we have all the elements together with AI. The problem is right now they're just not like combining without the human touch and without some serious creative direction, art direction and vision and editors to tie them all together. While this certainly helps with the workflow, especially with time-saving elements like translation and captions, what we're seeing in performance and from our clients' requests is the voiceovers fatiguing, anything that looks like obviously image generation or video generation that still has a lot of like quirks and kinks that needs to be worked out with it, that you kind of like look at it and you can tell it's AI. I think it is starting to rub people the wrong way, and we're seeing that pendulum swing back towards the human touch and more authentic connection and content from people.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And I think to the point, it's like those platforms, the native content on these platforms is also getting saturated with AI. So you can imagine that as you try to differentiate yourself on those platforms, it would make a lot of sense that you would want to go towards the human touch. I mean, that's what people are looking for in social media. I think one other really interesting thing that we talked about in the past was, the new types of creative that are evolving out of being able to produce AI assets. Like Suno is a really interesting place where you can it's another layer that you can layer onto an ad that you wouldn't do otherwise. I think that's a really cool one. The other thing that is, I think, very timely is Google just announced its most up-to-date video model, and it looks pretty crazy. And so I think you're right that the obvious AI components are right now, people are getting fatigued. As soon as it's not obvious, it's going to be much harder to differentiate. I think that's the place where this kind of really explodes. And the new, I don't know if you've played with the new Google model. I don't know if they're available, but I don't know if you looked at the new Google models at all. It's pretty crazy the direction we're headed.
Yeah, it's getting better month by month for sure with video generation. And I think where it works really well is for not replicating and trying to make things as realistic as possible, but taking things into more of an imaginary and fantasy realm that you can really create some prompts that you would never be able to find stock footage or video for. So I think it depends on the goal of the creative. Are you trying to replace and make things look realistic, or are you just taking it to a whole new level where you couldn't possibly have taken things before without a lot of production time? So I think that as things continue to get better month by month, we'll see more of it being included, but it just depends on how you use it. Because like using it for humor works really well, like leveraging these like ridiculous kind of fantastical scenes or making things like very hyperbolic for use in humor, I think works really well right now. But we'll just continue to see if it, makes convincing, assets that are able to replace stock video and footage options. That's something I'm particularly excited about. We have successfully used Midjourney to replace a lot of the stock resources that we use for images and photos. So I think we're there with it for that. But for video, we still have a little bit of ways to go.
It's good. It means we can stay employed. Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I used to go to a lot of conferences and stuff and talk to a lot of people in the industry. And now the new thing is like, I'm an AI for creative. And it's great. We can produce 10,000 creatives in an hour. And it's like, that's really great. How do you know which one's good? We're like, oh, well, we take your historical data and we take all that, we combine them all, we tag them all, and we have we like can tell which assets work across all your different creatives. And then we're able to produce the best creative out of that. It's like, okay, you just missed a really important piece of it, which is how do you come up with the working creative to begin with that you then become derivative? And I have not seen any clear answer to that question yet.
Yeah, it's fantastic for iteration. I think it's anytime it's a time-saving tool, I'm all for using that, but we certainly haven't seen it come up with any winning creative concepts on its own for sure. And also, I will say a lot of work does go into getting the prompts right. It's not at all like you can just give it any generic prompt and expect a masterpiece back. It takes a lot of time to kind of train it and also just ask the right questions and give good prompts to get good work back. So, and similarly too, like with Suno, it's a favorite one of mine to play with. I have a bit of a music background, and so it kind of comes to me to edit them and create them a little bit more quickly. But I've noticed that if you don't have that music background, it's just not going to yield as good results with the editing process. It will still create content for you, but similarly with Midjourney, I think you need an artistic eye to be able to refine prompts and edit them. So it's certainly not removing humans from the equation just yet.
Right, and it's just making you guys way more powerful, which means you can do way more with way less, which is awesome. Okay, so we covered AI a little bit. We covered UGC content a little bit. Can you talk about some of the other creative trends that you've seen work this year?
Yeah, in addition to UGC, with showing influencers' face or after face, like reviewing or talking about the app in a kind of like review style format, we're seeing over-the-shoulder content work really well, which is just showing, hands playing the game. Doesn't need to have fantastic lighting, doesn't need to have compelling, background or be shot on a great camera. These are the shot on, iPhone, and we're seeing just a lot of success with that. I think this comes directly from the previous trend that we saw couple years ago of just kind of like fake gameplay and enhanced gameplay and games that show a lot of like 3D models and looks really great, and then you get in the game and it's compelling and people churn. So I think that when you're showing the actual gameplay, people know what they're getting into and it feels a lot less like an ad, so they're willing to kind of like stick with it instead of just passing on it right away. So I think it's something we'll continue to see work really well. Probably going into this year is that over-the-shoulder style UGC content, which is very intentionally lo-fi and sometimes hard to explain to clients. Like, I know it doesn't look the best, but trust us, this is gonna work out here. So it can be a little bit of a hard sell, but we do see this perform really well. So it's something that we continue to lean into in our creative playbook.
Yeah, much like this video production, this whole thing is definitely an intentional design. It's supposed to be lo-fi. It's not just I have a shitty camera for my computer. Yeah, got it. That makes a lot of sense. What else are you working on?
Yeah, great question. I think we're definitely seeing more retargeting campaigns as well this year. And I think going into next year, just the rising cost of user acquisition overall has kind of led to more of an interest in retargeting and capturing lapsed players. And this is something that allows you to get a little bit more creative because you have players who are familiar with the game and allows you to kind of tease new content or levels. And so I think this is an area that we'll continue to see more creative strategy devoted towards, which I think is great. New forms of media too. I think we're seeing a lot of new playable technology coming out and easier to make playables. There's talk of being able to make playables in ChatGPT. We haven't successfully got that off the ground yet, but I'm very interested to see how AI will be a tool and leveraging that. So I think there's a lot of other exciting new formats that we'll see in addition to video with interactive ads this year as well.
As long as I've been in UA, people have been, playables can overtake video and then have it. They usually can be a piece of the mix, but never, the ascendant part of the mix. The really interesting thing about playables and AI is like they're basically having these new technologies where you can create gameplay It's AI technology where it renders games in real time without a game engine. Basically what they do is it invents a game on the fly and you play it, which is crazy. It's totally different because like in theory and historically the way that games work is you create an engine, you have to like model the world in 3D. But this is just like they do it without that. They're just like creating it like a TV screen. It's wild. We'll see how that works. I mean, I think it's ways off for it to be, it has a lot of the issues that you have with like, just really creepy and not really good video. But I mean, within a decade, we'll have that and be able to generate your own game in real time. You have these few that are your favorite creatives. Do you think we could just play them on screen and then have you explain why they're cool?
All right, cool. So this is a creative I was particularly excited that our team produced this year. This is one that probably been served at one point. We get served a lot on the creative team as well. And this is a creative our clients have actually brought to us as an example of, they're like, hey, I saw this out in the wild, love to do something like this. So it's been a really big win for our team that we're like, oh yeah, we need that one, and it's doing really well. And we've done a lot of videos like this. This is the developer of Tower Defense mobile game. And so for how we decided to make this creative, we sent over a list of interview questions for Tony to respond to. So he just made this webcam recording of himself responding to the questions that we asked, and we edited them together with gameplay. So I'll go ahead and play this as an example.
I'm the developer of the game, The Tower. I wanted to make a tower defense game that had nearly infinite number of upgrades and builds to try. The core fun of the game comes from gathering resources, failing, then spending those resources and upgrades in the workshop. Then you come out more powerful the next round. We've got a really strong community on Discord that loves to chat about strategy and ways to continually break my game. I love them dearly. It's really fun to see them all explore the new features and find the new best strategy.
Try it out. I'll see you there.
The pain when he said I love them dearly was endearing.
Yeah, I think that's what really makes the creative. And we've done probably about 6 follow-up creatives with him on different aspects of the game. We've tried to narrow it in. Is it like the Discord community? Is it the gameplay? Like, what aspect are people responding to here? And I think it really is that authentic line about I love them dearly. And just the voiceover, it's not super polished. It's not done on like a fancy mic. It's clearly just a web camera recording. It's in the living room. I think that this all just makes it very relatable and authentic, and has led to a really successful ad that we have used this as a case study to try with a number of our clients across the portfolio, and almost always see really positive traction on them that we've tested so far.
Yeah, and I've seen it all over the internet. Really successful. Cool. That's a great one.
Yeah, on the other end of the spectrum, one of my favorites, this is a UGC style.
Marvel Snap, let's go! I won't let you down, Ben Brode. I'll train to be the very best. No roping out here unlike those other card games. With super fast matches, I'll defeat you in no time. You weren't expecting me to choose Iron Man. No, but that means... That's right. With this card, my power's doubled. No.
Yeah, awesome. So it's just super fun, and shows just like a lot of awareness of the trends that we're seeing, on TikTok and other social platforms as well. And I think, it's clear that, the design, like when the designer just has a lot of fun working on them, I think that comes through, and a lot of their, personality and skill sets. So it's really nice when you work on a creative team full of, super talented individuals that can bring a lot of their skills and personality and humor into the creatives. So whether or not they end up performing really well as an ad, our clients really like to see the creativity kind of shining through. And I think they're just kind of outside of the box solutions that a lot of other agencies don't offer. So it's really nice when we can deliver things like this for our clients.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks really... I want to go boot up Marvel Snap again. It's not like I've spent way too much money on that game already. Thanks for sharing all your insight, Ava. Really appreciate it. The teardown of the ads is a nice little twist. Any sort of final takeaways or things you're looking forward to in 2025 that you think are going to be big and exciting?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think we'll see the continued rise of UGC, this continuation of the developer style interview behind the scenes content working really well. That's another angle too we didn't quite touch on there, but a lot of the ones we've been able to use behind the scene content, like art in progress, work in progress, behind the scenes, like voice acting, or just any way that we can draw out the ways that games and the game teams are unique and different will really strengthen the creative. So I think as much as we can, getting very like personal and specific with the content that we create for the games that we work on.
And I mean, that sort of is a similar through line to it's basically authenticity is a thing that seems to be the through line in all these successful creative concepts, from the authenticity of the our designers who are doing the designing to the authenticity of the people who are building the games. And, you know, in a world that we're propagated with far too much AI and technology that's just like hammering down our throats all the time, even in a digital world, people are craving human connection. So it makes a lot of sense. Awesome. Well, really appreciate it, Ava.
Yeah, well said. Thanks, Sander. Always a pleasure.
If any of this is interesting to you and you need some help scaling your game, you can reach us through our website. As we say, we do all the hard work to scale games. We can plug in, support your team, and we build really cool technology that helps make all of that easier and more efficient. So if that is helpful to you, reach us through our website. It's upptic.com, upptic.com.
Talk soon.